कि कलर सेंसर है, कलर सेंसर एक पर्टिकुलर फ्रिक्वेंसी को नोट कर रहा होगा, तो मुझे आप बस एक चीज बता दीजिए कि माय क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट इज द विजिबल रेंज ऑफ लाइट? माय क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट इज द विजिबल रेंज ऑफ लाइट? क्लास आंसर प्लीज। अब तो ब्रेक भी हो गया, प्लीज आंसर। हेलो हेलो, एम आई ऑडिबल? हेलो, आवाज आ रही है मेरी? ओके 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 ओके। सो अगर कलर सेंसर है, इफ इट इज अ कलर सेंसर, सो इट विल सेंस अ पर्टिकुलर वेवलेंथ ओनली। लाइट को बाइफरकेट वो किस बिहाफ पे करेगा, इंटेंसिटी और वेवलेंथ? कैन यू टेल मी? इफ अ कलर सेंसर इज सेंसिंग अ कलर, then what will be the bifurcation, or you can say sensing index? Yes, you can say wavelength or you can say spectral frequency. Okay, so your blue light has a wavelength of range 450 to 495 नैनोमीटर, so वो उसी रेंज को कैप करेगा। बट ये तो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द बेसिक फंडामेंटल। ओके, लेकिन हाउ आर यू गोइंग टू टीच इट? ओके, तो अगर if you want to change that, you don't want a blue light, blue colored, you have seen in the process, right, that blue colored was selected and it actuates an actuator, a pneumatic actuator. uh, just let me use a laser light. Yeah, so you can see this is your sensor. It will actuate the pneumatic cylinder, okay, which will transfer the blue workpiece into this chute. Okay, and this sensor will actuate only when blue color is there. Okay, when blue color component is going to be there. Okay, but what are the different parameters that you need to say? What should be the ideal distance? That will also be the factor. Okay, what is the coverage area? That is also the factor. Okay, so and what is the inclination of this particular sensor? So are these factors going to be in the picture or not? Yes, of course, all these factors are going to be in the picture. And you need to, as an engineer, you always get an in-depth knowledge of what we say, the basic working or basic functioning of these sensors, but we also need to increase the span of our knowledge. Okay, we just don't need to learn about the basic fundamentals of basic working principle of this particular sensor, but also about the installation, but also about the teaching. Or you can say that if I want red color workpiece instead of blue color workpiece, then what should I do? Okay, so these kind of aspects you should also look. What is the company? Why this company is more reliable? Why only this company I am using, not other company I am using? What is the work life expectancy? Cost is another big parameter. So you need to understand all these things also. In industry, it is very important because you will manage an entire project or a process line. So these concepts also, just a brief, that what should you keep in mind? rather just than from basic fundamentals. What is the availability? What is the cost? What is the repeatability? What is the lifespan? All these things, and from where you can get all this information from Google, but you should know that what information you need to extract, right? So that is also an important factor. This this is your relay, or you can say motor driving unit. This is again the controller. You have seen these different types of wires. Those were coming out of the BLDC. Why this much amount of wires are required, and why BLDC need so much wiring? Can someone answer me that? Why is it so that there are so much numbers of wires in this particular BLDC? We just need a DC supply, right? And we just need a control analogy. And why so much amount of wires are used? Only one answer from anyone. Ritik, Adarsh, Bhanu, Kalpana, शुभम, तुम भी कुछ बोल दो यार. अंकुश ने भी अभी तक कोई जवाब नहीं दिया है शायद. आया एक. डू यू नो द आंसर? यस और नो, ये तो जवाब दे दो. नो. Okay. See, BLDC is your DC motor, all right? And since it is brushless, so what you need to do is, आपको it gives more pulling power. Yes, actually, yes, you can say that there are more wires, but every wire has a specific function here. Okay, so one wire will give you the feed, one wire will give you the timing, one wire will be going through the IC chip which has a generated function which will provide you a rotating field. Now since it is a brushless motor, so for that what you need, for that DC system, you need a rotating field. You know that for a DC system the field should be rotated so that rotor inside can rotate. One wire is going to manage the torque. So these kind of information, the main motive is for telling you this is that you need to get into the basic working principle also, that why we are using so much wires. The answer to this question is that since there are various controlling systems and system algorithms, and there are various connections. For example, you can see there are n number of wires. If there are n number of wires, one will be for supply, one will be for controlling through IC, okay, one will be for giving a single direction to a single rotating field. For that, what you need to understand the basic working principle of BLDC. So what I wanted to say with this slide is, we will go through in deep with this. What I have done is, I have just downloaded the what we say, the manual of this particular BLDC. We will work on what will be the learning path for this. What I am trying to say is that we are not going to learn particularly how DC motor work, how that particular working principle is. I am going to start with the basic working of DC motor, then about brushless DC motor, then we will look into the catalog or the manual of this particular BLDC and how it works. So you will understand that how you are going to get the whole through detail of a particular what you say BLDC along with your motor driving unit. Okay, are you aligned to it? Please confirm. Are you aligned? Are you getting my point? What is the what I am trying to convey? Are you getting it? Our path will not only be confined to just teaching you that how DC motor works and how it is. We will first learn the BLDC working, basic principle, working principle. After that, we will switch to the catalog where all the information regarding it is given. Okay, so that you will be able to learn how the system has been integrated. Okay. Now about the applications. You all know that there are various applications. I was talking about it for a whole day yesterday also, today also I covered this. You can have any branch. Rather, I never want to add this slide because this is just confining the area. It is not just this area. You can say if there is any scope of employment in any sector that is related to mechatronics or this factory automation, there is every sector that is associated to it at this point of time. Again, this is a very bookish form of mechatronics structure. So you know that mechatronic structure bring together the areas of technology that involve sensors, digital actuator, and this block diagram you might have seen in many books and many theories. Although it is important, you need to understand that from a mechanical system you are going to give digital sensor, but still this is not the actual correct information because mechanical system is giving nothing to digital sensors in the form of energy. Okay, it might be just that sensor is sensing some sort of displacement. Okay, so if it is a say proximity sensor, so it might be that it is getting energy from outside, not from mechanical system. So it is not necessarily that it is moving in this particular loop. As I told you earlier that these lines matter most. There are three kind of flows in a system. You need to understand that too. And those three kind of flows are energy flow, material flow or mass flow, and information flow. Okay, so just write in the chat box what are the three type of flows in a mechatronic system, and I want answer from all of you. Three type of energy flows in a mechatronic system. Class, I need answer from all of you. Yeah, if you have knowledge of energy, mass, and information flow, then you have the information about the process. Okay. Energy, mass, and information. Energy, mass, and information. Yes. Correct. Correct. You all are correct. Okay. So there here only a sort of mixed system is being depicted in this particular diagram, that a mechanical system is giving something to digital sensor. What it is giving, we don't have any information. It is giving something to the analog sensor. What it is giving, we don't have information about it. It is giving something to microprocessor. What it is doing, we don't know. It is giving, might be it is energy, might be it is information. Again, what my question is that how information is different from energy. So for example, a sensor gives an information. Okay, so actually the sensor is going to give an output. Am I correct or not? A sensor is going to give an output, and that output will be in the form of current only. That is energy. So why we are calling it information? It is a information is also can be a form of energy, but it is mainly for providing a digital logic. Okay, it can be in the form of current. Normally, do you know the range of industrial sensors? How much current how much is the range of current that a sensor provides to PLC, and why only current is given? Why we don't say that voltage is provided through sensor? And what is the range? Do you know answers of these questions? This is just for my understanding. Yeah, so let me note it also, that it is important for you to understand that that is a very basic thing. I'm just, for timing, I'm just letting you know that 5 to 20 milliampere is provided, okay, by a sensor. And why we take it in milliamperes only, and why we are not taking 0 to 20 milliamperes, and why it is such a short range? These all are the questions that you should also note down in your mind. I am noting it on my diary. I will definitely come back to you on this question, but this is just to create a curiosity. If you don't know about this answer, you can, if you are getting an answer to that, if you search by yourself and getting back to me, why I'm not telling you at this point of time, because I will just go with the flow of course. When I will teach you about the electrical connections, at that time I'm going to cover that up, okay? But out of curiosity, if you are going to search for this, then you are going to remember it for a long time, okay? That is the motive. That is why I have structured this class like this, okay? So these are the kind of questions that you should be aware of. This is just a heads up that, and if you can answer this question, that what is the current that is an industry dealing with, these are very basic questions, and if you know the answers of this, even if HR or the technical person who is in the interview is not asking, you by yourself answer these questions, that I know that I have done a project in which I have made a factory automation, there I had a sensor, the current was this, the current range is 4 to 20, it is not 0 to 4, because if a line breaks, it will be not, it will be difficult to address whether the line has been break or not. So if you are going to answer it on your own during the interview, can you understand the impact that you are going to give on a HR person? Because you definitely know, not even the HR person, there will be a technical associate to the panel, and what kind of impact are you going to give? Okay, that is why I usually say yes. This is also a question, why I have not addressed voltage. I have also mentioned that question also, that why I have only addressed it in ampere and why I have not addressed it as voltage. What could be the voltage range of input? Although to PLC the input is of 24 volt, and for PLC to PLC it converts. Just for your knowledge, by now the voltage that comes to PLC from the sensor is 24 volt. That depends on what kind of sensor it is, okay? But for mostly factory automation sensor, which are your PNP sensors normally, which just are BJTs, a normal BJT sensor which has 0 or 1 condition, not like a level sensor or something else. You know BJTs? Do you know what is a BJT? Or that too you might be knowing what is a BJT. Or what is a PNP sensor? What is an NPN sensor? I will cover a very brief about it also, that what is the difference, how you say that it is a, well, generally BJT is for bijunction transistor, yeah, bipolar junction transistor, which has only two responses, either 0 or either 1. It will either provide a signal or not. That we will also cover in this particular session when we are going to touch system approach, okay? So you need not to worry about it. Yes, we are not considering voltage by now because it depends, but generally 4 to 20 milliamperes is going to be there, okay? We will cover it. Abhay, No need to worry, we will cover it. Okay, so these are the type of questions that comes out of these sessions also. Even Suraj sir is going to cover this, that what is the voltage that PLC requires. So the main motive is that apart from that theoretical diagram knowledge, it is also very important that you should cover these basics also. I am presenting now. Yes, I am presenting. So what is a control system? A control system can be thought of as a system which can be used to control some variables to a particular value. For example, a central heating system. Okay, you know a lot about control systems. Control the sequence of events. For example, in a washing machine, where there is and the dials are set to say white and the machine is controlled. Control whether an event occurred or not. Okay, so there are only three domains which has control some variable, so that will be process, and control the sequence of event, that is part of factory automation, and control whether the event occurred or not. Okay. Now we will come to systems approach. Okay. So now you can see this particular slide where you are. I have shown a particular car. Now you can see a car is not just about an engine which drives the mechanical power. It has system for energy storage. It has electronics components. It has lighting components. It has electrical components. It has motor components. Okay. So the feel of the car is not determined by a single subsystem, but it is the integration of individual components. Okay, so we need to look and focus on each and every component of a system. We need to look at the working principle, integration analogy, and how a system has been, what is the procedure of integration to all the components. This we need to learn. Okay, and all this comes with the systems approach. Okay, so all those questions that were asked are related to this only, that what should be your approach towards a system and how to learn about the whole soul working of a particular system so that you can master for any kind of process. Now let us come to the philosophy of system approach. Okay, so it will start from what level? You can see it is a top to bottom approach if you are looking. So real electronic system will be connected to a PLC, C programming, op-amps, maths and physics, and all this will be connected to machines, sensor at the bottom level of, and this is also ohm, yeah, RLC circuits. Okay, so what we have done is we have seen an actual engineering system, which was our modular manufacturing system, and we were just learning about the total functionality. Then there is a subsystem level where we learn about individual functionality and components given within the subsystem, and then at the component level. Okay, so learn about the components physical principle and the flow of energy and information. They learn to do the measurement required to pinpoint whether malfunctions are occurring or not, and also troubleshooting. So you students will be able to determine whether a component is defective, whether the energy or information flow is correct or not. Okay, so that you will be very much comfortable while asking or answering all those questions that were asked during the session. Okay, now again, this is the learning loop, how this learning loop works. So individuals learn about the complexities of the system in a holistic fashion. We start at a macro level and then we focus on system modules, physical properties, components, measurements, then ability to pinpoint malfunctions, and ability to transfer their knowledge into another system. So this will be your flow. You will learn about the complexities of the system in a holistic fashion. Then you will start at a macro level, that we have seen that what is happening in a particular system, how it is working. Then we will focus on system modules, that each and every physical property, how a component work, how it measures, how it is giving an uh, signal, or how it is receiving a particular signal. Then you will be able to pinpoint the malfunction. Then you can troubleshoot that what is the actual problem. Then you can answer these questions. And then once you are going to troubleshoot a problem or a breakdown in a single system, you will definitely attain the ability to transfer the knowledge into other system. Okay, so once you know how to approach a system, how to get the knowledge about a single system, then you are going to definitely going to get the ability to attain a knowledge about any process. Okay, so you can see that for a mechatronic system, there is a module, application of component, characteristic and design in the system, physical principle, characteristics, limit, source of error, causes of malfunctions, then tracing of signal flow measurement, system troubleshooting strategies, and then we go to the module. Okay, so this is the kind of structure that we are going to deal with in the troubleshooting. Okay. Now, the first thing is about the system analysis. What I told you earlier was that when there will be a system, there will be energy, material, and information. There will be a flow of energy, there will be a flow of material, and there will be a flow of information. Am I correct? Till now it is very simple. अभी तक मैं केवल बोल रहा हूँ, आप लोग केवल सुन रहे हो उसको कि एनर्जी का फ्लो होना चाहिए, मटेरियल का फ्लो होना चाहिए, इंफॉर्मेशन का फ्लो होना चाहिए, और मैकेट्रॉनिक सिस्टम में ये फुलफिल होना चाहिए. बट जब आप खुद से ड्रॉ करने बैठेंगे इसको, तो चीजें थोड़ी सी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड होना शुरू होंगी, और हमको खुद से ही ड्रॉ करना पड़ेगा इसको. दिस इज अगेन एक सिस्टम है, एनर्जी इज फ्लोइंग, देयर इज फोर्स. फॉर एक्चुएटर इट इज फ्लोइंग. For sensor, there is a measurement, there is a control, there is a control variable, there is a feedback, there is a reference input. Okay, so this is how an information is flowing, energy is flowing, and material is flowing. Now, we will start this. Is this screen visible, and are you able to see this system? It is important for you to look at this system and to focus on this system, because the next questions will be answered by you only. Is it visible? Kindly someone unmute your mic and.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So just have a brief look at this system. Okay. You are going to give me the EMI, energy, mass, and information flow diagram for this particular system. And it is you, solely you, who is going to give me the answers. Okay. I will just tell you how a pneumatic cylinder, how the EMI diagram of a single pneumatic cylinder is going to work. Okay. Rest, I will leave it to you. System के बारे में मैं थोड़ा सा बता देता हूँ. I want to brief you about the system. You don't get into the mechanical thing, that how it is being done mechanically. The only thing that I am going to tell you is that this is your pneumatic cylinder. Okay, this will move in this particular direction, and it will move the gears into this particular chute. This is a lifting mechanism. You don't need to understand it how it is lifting it, but you can see that gears are fed here, they will be lifted here. Once they reach here, this position, this proximity sensors will confirm that the position has been reached to this position. This will move upward through the movement of this thread. Okay, this pneumatic cylinder contains a plunger. It will throw the gears into the chute. Here it is a chute. You can see that gear present sensors are there. They will sense that gear has been presented. there is a solenoid which will push the gate and the process will work. Again, I am going to repeat this. Kindly note the process. If you want me to repeat, I will repeat it 100 times. Okay. Uh, while answering the questions, also you can ask that what is the process. Okay. Just don't go into the mechanical part, that how it is moving upward and how it is going downward. The only thing that you need to understand is there are gears which are fed. There is a gear present sensor which will sense. Okay, once this process is completed, okay, this process is completed, when this is pushed into the chute, another stack will come up, and once the stack comes up, these sensors we are going to sense that the position has been attained. Then again, there in this pneumatic cylinder, this will push and it will have a reciprocating motion. So once it will be pushing it, the slot will come in this particular direction. Okay, and it has to move backward also. Okay, then these gears are going to be falling into the chute, and then in this chute there are sensors which will sense the presence of the gear. The solenoid will act and it will process it, move it forward. Do you want me to repeat it, or you have understood? Should I repeat it, or you understood the process?
Sir, there's a doubt.
Yes.
So, what's the use of proximity sensors near pneumatic cylinders?
A very good doubt. We are going to cover this right just now. We will just cover about the pneumatic cylinder. You will have an entire day to introspect about the other processes. We will continue with that. But for pneumatic cylinder, yes, there are proximity sensors, and these proximity sensors are called magnetic reed sensors. Okay. So we are going to cover this. You don't have any doubt about the process. I will again repeat this process to you in the end of the session. I'm just going to focus on this pneumatic cylinder. Okay. Now you know that when this is a pneumatic cylinder, this is the plunger that will move in this particular direction and this particular direction. And you know that for a particular cylinder, there is going to be a piston. I'm just giving you a very brief introduction to how a pneumatic cylinder works. Let me use a red pen only. Suppose this is a cylinder. Okay, there will be a piston inside. Okay, and from here there will be some ports. Okay, and this is the spool which is moving outward. Okay, so it might be looking something like this from inside. There will be a piston, air will fill into this. When air will fill through this particular port, when air is going to pass through this particular port, okay, so piston will move in this particular direction and we will get exhaust air from this, and this is the compressed air. Okay, this is the compressed air. When compressed air is going from this particular direction, this port will open. There will be a logic associated to it. Then this portion will be filled with compressed air. The spool will, piston will move in this particular direction and this spool will come back. So this spool is moving into this particular direction and this particular direction, but it will have its end positions. Okay, so how will we able to know that spool is in which condition? It might be that because of some mechanical error, spool has not been to its extreme position. There might be a case that spool has not moved. So how are you going to sense it? You are going to sense it with these proximity sensors, that what is the position of piston. So if you know the position of piston, that whether it is fully extended or not, now again you can say that we can put a sensor here, two sensors here, Okay, and we can work, but with these sensors, but that is not going to work. Why it is not going to work? Because if by one case it has been moved to this, but the spool has been broken from this particular direction and the piston is now only rotating, so also it is going to give you an instruction that the working is good and it is not a breakdown. Okay, so it is very important for us to assess the position inside the piston. This is the piston that is working inside it, and it works on the principle of magnetic reed. How it works on a principle of magnetic reed? That this piston has a magnet attached to it. So there is a magnet attached to this particular piston, and we will just have a look that how this magnetic reed works.
At the heart of a Pickering reed relay is the highest quality reed switch. The two switch blades are made from nickel iron. The contact surfaces are coated in a suitable material in order to give a long life to the device. This will usually be ruthenium, rhodium, or where very high voltages are involved, tungsten, due to its high melting point and resistance to welding. These contact materials will be either electroplated or sputtered in a vacuum. The switch blades are enclosed within a hermetically sealed glass tube. Within this tube will be either an inert gas, usually nitrogen, or in the case of high voltage switches, a vacuum. Unlike open relays, this ensures that the contacts will not oxidize. Cleanliness is of the utmost importance, as even microscopic particles will affect the contact resistance, stability, and life of the part. A reed switch is operated in the presence of a magnetic field. As the magnet approaches the reed switch, the blades will become magnetically polarized and will become attracted to each other, closing the switch. When the magnet is removed, the switch will return to its open state. Of course, a reed relay does not have a magnet to operate the switch. Instead, the magnetic field is generated by an electrical current flowing through the turns of an operating coil, which is fitted over the reed switch. These coils are wound on automated machinery where an adhesive on the copper wire allows them to be self-supporting, dispensing with the more usual bobbin and allowing smaller relays to be designed. These coils often have many thousands of turns of very fine wire. When the operating voltage is applied to the coil connections, a magnetic field is generated which will close the switch, in the same way as it was when operated by the permanent magnet in the earlier illustration. The signal being switched will now flow through the closed contact. Removal of the coil drive will cause the switch to revert to its open state. The reed coil assembly is now made into a relay by attaching it to a lead frame. The majority of our relays includes an optional internal diode to clamp any back EMF generated by the coil inductance when the coil supply is turned off.
So now you know what is the function of reed switch. So now let me tell you that how a reed switch is going to work in this particular cylinder, which is your pneumatic cylinder. Please use a pen. Yeah. So see, this is your reed switch. What will happen when the piston inside is going to reach this particular position? That means this will be fully extended. Okay. When it will be extended position, this piston will come in this particular, in proximity to this. Let me erase this, other you will be confused. Yeah, so the spool will come, the piston will come in this particular direction. It will come into the proximity of this magnetic reed switch. Now what will happen? This is a magnetic reed switch which operate on magnet. This piston has magnet in it. As we have seen in this video, when it comes in the proximity of this magnet, you will have a closed contact. Okay, now we need to understand what kind of switch this is. This is going to be a PNP sensor. Now what will happen when it moves into this particular direction? It is going to give information about the location of this particular what you can say pneumatic cylinder. So just to give the information whether it has reached to the end position or not, or whether it is to the left hand side of fully extended position or fully retracted position, you need to get the information about that position, and that position has been provided by these magnetic switch. Okay, now do you understand? I think Ritik asked me this question. Ritik, is there any doubt now? Should I repeat it? Hello Ritik, you asked this question, right?
Yes, sir.
Is the doubt clear or not? Should I explain it once more?
Can you explain the function of relay once again? Means
Relay or reed switch?
reed switch.
Yeah. So, okay, I will just repeat it. See, reed switch is nothing but, let me give you an example from sensors. I have a PPT for that. Yeah, something like this. Is my presentation visible? This. When a magnet comes into the proximity, okay, what is going to happen? When a magnet is in the proximity, this will be in contact. Okay, this is in the sealed glass. Okay, when a magnet is brought close to the switch, the magnetic reeds are attached to each other and you will have a flow. This electrical contact is going to be connected. This is a close contact now, and the electric current will pass. Okay, so when the electric current is passed, that means what? It is going to sense the proximity of a magnet. And where this magnet is inside the piston of the pneumatic cylinder, for the pneumatic cylinder. Please kindly unmute yourself, Ritik, and just confirm that whether you understand, you getting it or not.
Yes, sir. I'm getting it.
Okay, now you understood what is the difference between reed switch?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is just for showing you the system approach, and just for a single component, now you can see that how much difference is there. Now you can see that there will be, I told you about pneumatic air supply, that pneumatic air is either going to be compressed air, is either going to be filled from this direction. You just need to change the direction. We will completely understand the whole you can say functionality, that how the system works. You need not to worry about it, just you need to look at the bigger picture, how we integrate, how the system is integrated at this point of time. If you're not getting that how it is being flown or something, we have ample time for it and we are going to cover all these aspects, so no need to worry about it. These are the magnetic reed switch which are just giving the information of the end position, and how they are going to get, they are going to get through the position of a piston. Okay, and now this power supply or compressed air is being provided through a DCV. You can see this is a directional control valve, okay, which will just change the direction. You can see compressed air is coming from here. Okay, so compressed air can go into this direction and also in this direction. The work of this directional control valve is to just change the direction of the air supply, compressed air supply. So once, if it is the supply, this is going to be the exhaust line. If this is going to be supply line, then this is going to be the exhaust line. Okay, so now you understood that how a pneumatic cylinder works. Just a very brief introduction about a pneumatic cylinder. Why these proximity sensors are installed? how it is acting in two direction, and how the spool will move. Are you aligned to this? Kindly respond on the chat box. Are you aligned to this? Class, I need answers. Are you aligned to it? If not, I will repeat it. There is no issue. Yeah. Because you have to answer these questions just after this session. I think it is 4:45. I am just going to cover the pneumatic part. For the rest of the process part, you are going to give me the answer. Okay. Now you can see that these magnetic switch, again I am going to continue with this, that you can say that, for example, your magnetic switch is a BJT, which consists of your PNP transistor. I will repeat this again and again if you have any doubt, but make sure that you understand that what is happening. Okay, so you know PNP transistor better than me, but the only thing that I want to tell you is not about the details, just that when this is the constant power supply that you are giving. Okay, this is the permanent 24 volt that you are giving to the system. Okay, this is the continuous supply, this is the base. Okay, so current will flow from this direction to this direction when your magnetic switch was not closed, was in open form. Okay, so this magnetic switch has been connected to what? It has been connected to this, sorry, not like this. Say something like this, which will have your volts supply. So the power supply will go from this, sorry, not like this, let me erase it, not connected to this. There is a power supply that has been given, VBC, and that VBC will be supplied to plus here and minus here, and this is reversed. Let me erase it. Yeah. Yeah, so this VBC has to be provided through what? Your reed switch. Okay, I'm not connecting it, but you know that this VBC will be applied. When it will be applied? When this connection is closed. So when the piston is in proximity, this connection will close, this will come into action, and we are going to get a output from the collector. Okay, if you are not getting this particular thing, just you need to remember is that for PNP sensor we get an output or a voltage current output from the collector. Okay, so when it will be going into the PC, so it will be 24 volts going into the, sorry, PLC, not PC, it is PLC. So to PLC it will be going in the form of 24 volt. So it is giving a sort of information. Okay, so this is how the magnetic reed switch is going to work. Let me continue. How it is giving a particular information, you can see if there is a connection, the current will be given to the PLC. Okay, now the current is given to the PLC. What I am going to do is I am just going to give you the EMI flow, energy, material, excuse me. Yes. So the diagram for this particular pneumatic cylinder, the energy, mass, information flow diagram for this pneumatic cylinder that I am going to draw for you, and we will draw for the entire process. Okay, so I have that particular diagram available with me. Just a minute. Yes. So let us draw the diagram for the cylinder only. Okay. So this is a cylinder. This is the cylinder. And now just tell me that for cylinder, what is the kind of energy that you will get? What is the kind of energy that you will get? Sorry. So we were talking about the energy, mass, and flow of information. Okay. So what kind of energy this cylinder is going to get, and through what it is going to get the energy? Class, please someone unmute yourself and answer this. So it is going to get the compressed air supply. Okay. And that compressed air supply will be first supplied to a solenoid, which was your directional control valve. Okay. So there was a control valve. I am just writing as CV. This was a directional control valve which was just changing the direction. Okay. And for that what you needed was an solenoid, which was a solenoid operated, and this solenoid will be electrically joined. Okay. This solenoid will be electrically joined. This will be solenoid. Okay. Now this solenoid will give an particular information. Let us use the dotted part, and this solenoid will get the information from a PLC, a control logic. This is your PLC. I am just drawing it for a single system, but we will draw it. It is going to take some time, but you need to understand it how a particular energy and mass flow in a single system. Okay. Although it might be looking a little bit tough at this point of stage, but once you will be completed for all the diagram, you will be going to understand it very easily. Okay. Just have some patience. Don't lose your attention from here. Just I am going to repeat it. So for this particular pneumatic cylinder, okay, for this particular pneumatic cylinder, you have a control valve. Okay, this is your control valve. It will have a air supply. It will have a air supply. Okay, this control valve is solenoid operated. So the solenoid will give information to this, and this will supply this compressed air energy. This is going to supply your compressed air energy, and it is going to supply it to your cylinder. Cylinder. Okay. Now when you have supplied it to the particular cylinders, I told you that there was some magnetic reed switch, which are your position sensor, and they will, what will the position sensor do? They will give an information to your PLC about the position. it might not. Okay, so now just kindly focus on this particular process. This is just being done for this pneumatic cylinder. We know there will be a logic. The information from the proximity sensor will be provided to your controller, which is PLC. Okay, now pneumatic work on compressed air. So compressed air will be a form of energy, and that compressed air will come to your control valve, which is being controlled through the direction control valve. Okay, and this control valve will get signal from a particular solenoid. Again, solenoid also need a kind of energy, because it is just going to get a signal information from the PLC, and it will give a signal or information to the control valve, but it needs energy to actuate. Okay, so it needs energy to actuate. So this energy will be provided in the form of, what will be the form of energy that a solenoid will get? Whether it will be a mechanical energy, a solenoid will get the energy in the form of what? My question is this: you will have a solenoid here. Okay, this solenoid will get energy in the form of electrical. Yes, it's good that you are, yeah, this solenoid will be in the form of electrical energy. That electrical energy is giving the direction, a signal that will change the direction, and from this particular direction, what will happen? The compressed air will change its direction, because of which your piston will move in the extended form or retracted form. Okay, so your cylinder will be extracted or retracted. Just for your cylinder, now you know, now you can see that these magnetic reed switches are giving information to the PLC. This is your information to the PLC. Okay, this is the solenoid, this is the control valve, this is the cylinder. Now you can see. Okay, again, for the there will be a position measuring instruments here. There will be some sort of sensors here. So I am just using single pen stroke for that. This will be your sensors. Okay, these will be your sensors. Okay, so for cylinder, now you know there will be a, also now you know what, that these sensors also require electrical supply. There will be an electrical supply which will be provided to it in the form of PNP transistor. You need a supply for that. Okay, when you have a supply for that, so a PNP will be a PNP sensor will have a 3 wires. Okay, just tell me the answer for this particular question. PNP sensor will have 3 wires, and those 3 wires will be called, let us keep this. There will be 3 wires and 3 wires. And what will be these 3 wires called? Tell me quickly, guys. Okay. One will be your 24 volt input. One will be your 24 volt input. One will be your baseline, which is your 0 volt. Okay. One will be your baseline, which is 0 volt, and one will be your output. And this output is going to give sense to PLC. Okay, understood? So we will go into the deep understanding of this. You need not to get worried about it. These sensors will have a electrical supply also. A separate supply also. So this will be the kind of your energy flow diagram. Okay, Now we will use some conventions. Okay, so for energy flow we are going to get a single stroke line. For material flow we will use a double stroke line, and for information flow we are going to get dashed line. Okay, now you just need to understand the process, and the diagram will be drawn by you. I will just check it in the next session. We will again repeat this process. I will again repeat this process for cylinder just for one more time, and after that, for the entire process, for this entire process, it is you who is going to draw all the energy mass information diagram. Okay, okay. I will again repeat it and you have to draw it. And why we are going to give you this particular process, or you can say why we are getting into this particular process, because you need to understand it how a system is working, how energy, mass and information flows. So in order to have a deep understanding of process, you need to understand this thing also. And this is the first step for you to understand a single process. This was just to show you, also demonstrate that to you, that for a very single pneumatic cylinder, you can see how complex things can get. How you have to, when you have three different domains of engineering interconnected to a just single piece, so how you can analyze and how you have to analyze step by step. Okay, are we aligned to this? Compressed air is double line. Adarsh, uh, compressed air is energy. Okay, compressed air is energy, because for system the material is only gear. Rest all things are in the form of energy. So that compressed air is not material. Your material for the process is gear. Okay. Adarsh, is your doubt addressed or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are talking about the process. Okay, so let us conclude this session for today. I completely understand that this will be this might be a little heavy session at the end of the day, but we will continue it again and again until and unless you are comfortable with it. Okay, what, because you have to do it by yourself, so you can just understand it how a process goes. And if there is any other doubt, you can contact or we can conclude the session. All are present? Yes, all are present. Is there any doubt? Okay, so thank you very much, class.